Why does this person who abused me think that I abused them?
In my head.
Out for another walk. Okay, so I just had to wait for people to leave the area I'm in because, and this is an ongoing concern, and I'm going to talk about it now. You know, I keep mentioning I'm here in the suburbs. I'm in a heavily populated area of the suburbs where there's just people around all the time. It doesn't even matter, like, I'm out here at night. You would think that there wouldn't be that many people out here. It's like 10 o'clock at night. But no, there's still a lot of people. Everywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm going down a side street, it really doesn't matter. It's really hard to have public privacy where I am currently, which is incredibly frustrating because I don't really have a great amount of privacy at home. I don't feel like I have a place to just chill out and relax, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. So that's my situation. I had to wait for people to clear out. I'm comfortable now because otherwise I would be talking and people would be listening to me, and I'm not talking about subjects that I want everybody hearing, even though these people don't know me. I'm just not comfortable with it. So I was thinking about, why am I so uncomfortable when I'm out? Why do I keep having this like social anxiety? And you know, I mentioned in the last video that I did, maybe it's just like because it's weird talking to a phone in the suburbs. I think part of that's true, but I realized I also have a lot of negative experiences out in public for a couple of different reasons. So one of those reasons, if we want to go like far back into childhood, was that I had a parent that always told me that I was shy, even though I don't believe I really was. Thinking about it, looking backwards, I was told that I was shy, and I was always that person always spoke for me and told other people that I was shy. And consequently, I started to learn to fear other people because whenever I like tried to wander off or whenever I tried to speak with people, like there was a punishment involved. So I learned very quickly that other people are dangerous, other people are to be feared, don't talk to them. So like it manifested the shyness in me or whatever, which really just manifested in social anxiety over time. So there's that. I'm getting distracted because again, there's okay, so I'm gonna try to keep it together and continue talking. So there's that, and then I realized, you know, that relationship that I was talking about in the last video, that abusive relationship where we both abused each other. I don't know if I made that clear, but we were both abusive to each other. Physically, verbally, emotionally, everything. But at that time in my life, I also didn't have a lot of privacy, and so our solution for that was to drive around together, and we would stop in parking lots. Like we would do almost like what I'm doing now, which is very awkward. But we would go to parking lots and go to different places, like public spaces, and just like chill out in the parking lot in the car. And what would happen, because of the location that I'm living in, is there's a lot of police around this area, and if you want my honest opinion, there's a lot of racist people out here. There's a lot of people who are insecure about themselves, who are looking for the hooligans and looking for the criminals and looking for the wrongdoers. Like, they want it to be a safe place, and in the process of making it a safe place, or attempting to make it a safe place, they over-policed, is what I'm getting at. But for whatever reason, police are like all over the place around here. It's obnoxious. It's not that way anymore. It was really bad when I was doing this, when I was hanging out with this person. And so we would be in our parked car in parking lots, and constantly, all the time, sometimes 2 or 3 times in a night, because we would move locations, a police car would pull up, and they would say, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Give me your license. They would interrogate. Sometimes they wanted us to get out of the car. He would be drinking sometimes, so shouldn't be doing that, but really, like, what the hell? He's just drinking. Nothing was going on. We weren't even, like, suspicious looking. But all of those experiences, because there was a lot of them, there was a lot of experiences where the police came up and it felt very intrusive, because it wasn't just like, hey, what are you doing here? We can't have you here. It was like asking tons of questions and interrogating. And even when I used to go for walks, because I think I mentioned this before, I used to go for walks a lot around this area at night, and even then, cops would like slow down to see who I was. I once got, they stopped me once and had 4 cop cars pull up with the lights going, like in the middle of the suburbs. Like, what the hell do you think is going on? But they said that there was some kid going around, going into people's backyards, I guess, and damaging shit. And because I had a black hoodie on, I guess I was that kid. I don't know. But my point here is that all of those experiences, plus the fact that I was always told that I was shy and I was always like made to be afraid of people when I was a child, now when I walk around outside, I have this feeling of always needing to be on edge, always feeling like people are watching, like I need to be on guard, that something's gonna happen, I have to be prepared. And so I think that's what's going on here, and that's part of why I have this social anxiety when I'm out. Now, obviously, things have changed. Like I said, I don't see so much police presence out here like I used to see. It used to be that you could walk around and see police like every 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. But I'm aware of this now. I am trying to manage it, but I also have PTSD, and that's something else I want to talk about. But I don't want to make these big long speeches, because I rewatch these videos and I realize, holy shit, like I'm just going on and on and on, and it can get to be a little bit much when you hear it over and over again, which is why I try to break it up with some of the like in-between scenery shots and things. So I'm going to try to break it up and try to find another place to talk, because I really do want to talk about PTSD and dissociation and how that's played a part in my life. That was something I planned to do, and I would like to wrap everything up today. I want to do all the filming in one day so I can have it released tomorrow, because I'm trying to keep on a schedule of Monday through Friday, a video each day. So let's see where we can go. So there's a sign here that says I'm not supposed to be loitering, but I'm going to take a minute and talk to you anyway. So, PTSD. I found out that I had PTSD. How did I find that out? I found that out when a therapist started using the word trauma. It was a couples therapist. This was the end of 2015, around September or October 2015. And she started using the word trauma in therapy. And I was like, trauma? Why does she keep saying that word? That's kind of weird. I was like, trauma's like natural disasters or war. I'm like, what the hell does trauma have to do with me? But she kept using it, and the more she was using it, I was like, wait a minute. I mean, I've had a pretty rough life. Maybe I've been through trauma. So I started to look up, like, what is trauma on the internet? Like, why is she using this word trauma? And as we discussed, as things progressed in that couples therapy, I looked at my individual self, regardless of the couple. I was just looking at my own life experience, and I realized trauma, oh crap, I might have PTSD. That's crazy. Why do I have PTSD? Well, I had a difficult childhood, and then I took the lessons learned in that childhood, which were all the wrong lessons, and surrounded myself with situations and people that would further trigger me. So yes, I had PTSD. I'm going to move because I'm just not comfortable here, and we'll continue the conversation. the best I'm going to be able to do right now for a sense of privacy, even though it's really not private at all. Okay. So, PTSD. I realized I had PTSD for a lot of reasons, and in the course of learning about PTSD, I learned about dissociation. Dissociation, like the quick way of explaining dissociation, is when you blank out. You don't have to blank out all the way. It can just be like a foggy, fuzzy feeling, disconnected from your body, disconnected from the world. And the way that people typically describe dissociation is when you're driving and you get to your destination and you're like, what happened to the time in between? Like, I know I was driving, but what? I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember consciously driving. So that is dissociation. Now, dissociation can happen at any time. However, many of us, like myself, use it as a defense mechanism. And when you use it like a defense mechanism, it means that things get fuzzy. And particularly in my case, when I go back through my memories, especially the ones that are more traumatic or painful, there's a lot of fuzziness. And what do I mean by that? Specifically when it comes to PTSD, my memories are fragmented, and fragmented means you have pieces of them. You may have a picture without sounds or colors, or you may have a sound and you don't really know the time that it happened. Like, there's all these like different elements to our memories. With PTSD, when you go through a traumatic event and your brain codes the memory, it misses things. It doesn't get the whole picture. So I have a lot of memories that if I go back and look through them, I realize, like, wait a minute, like, I only know a very narrow slice of time. It's a very small, tiny slice of that memory that is conscious to me. So why did I want to bring up PTSD and trauma? I'm trying to wrap this up quickly because I just don't feel comfortable out here, as always. And I've got my headphones in. I should take my headphones out because it feels like I can't hear anything around me. There we go. PTSD and trauma is very complicated. And I did a whole series of it here on this channel if you want to check it out, because it's so complicated. However, it can happen to people who have gone through childhood abuse, sexual abuse. It can happen for a lot of different reasons. It can happen just when you're not resilient enough to handle something, when you feel like your life is threatened. And when you're a child, especially an infant, everything feels threatening. And if you don't feel like you have the security of your parents to take care of you, then it's very easy to wind up having PTSD. Now, not everybody experiences it the same way. Some people get it. If you put two people through the same situation, one person may get PTSD, one person may not. So understand that. But my PTSD caused me to seek out people who were not good for me, because I didn't know what good people were. I didn't believe. It's not just belief. I really just didn't know that other people existed. But even if there was a hint that there were different kinds of people in the world that I could have healthier relationships with, I didn't believe it. Like, if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. Because PTSD, part of PTSD is a foreshortened future. It's having depressed feelings. It's feeling shame. It's feeling like you're the cause of things. So there was just like no way I could possibly believe like healthy relationships could possibly exist. Sometimes I'm still kind of like, how is this possible? How did I get to this point in my life? Because it just doesn't make sense sometimes. But I got here and I want to help other people get here. So part of getting here is cutting off those bad relationships and getting around people who understand. So I'm happy you're here because I understand, and hopefully in the comment section or just getting to know me, getting to know people around me, you will find other people who understand and you won't get caught in these bad relationships. But give me a second to think about what else I wanted to say. So dissociation took a lot of my life away. Like, a lot of my life was lived in a fog and lived like halfway here, not totally existing, which is really terrible. It's like you kind of like float through life like a ghost, and you have interactions with people, and they're like, oh, it's lonely, it's scary, it's not a way to live, and it can be managed. And I don't dissociate like I used to. I will still dissociate when I'm very, very stressed out, but I can catch it, and I know I'm doing it, and then I use what's called grounding techniques to stop myself. But okay, so I wanted to try to connect some ideas together, and I don't know if I can really do it given the where I am, and I don't feel comfortable sitting here talking about everything. But so PTSD, I had borderline personality disorder. I was dissociating, like a lot of stuff was going on at the same time. And you know, I've been talking with some of my friends who are narcissists online, and or so I've been talking with some of my friends online who happen to be narcissists. They have narcissistic personality disorder, and through a conversation with one in particular, I have come to understand some things about, like, when I had borderline personality disorder, I don't remember what it was like all the time because I was so triggered all the time, and I was so reactive and dissociated. Like, it's just this weird blur in my memory sometimes, and I'm gonna have to sit down one day and, like, really, more than one day really, and dig into those memories and figure out what the hell was going on, because it's probably really interesting stuff in there. But we had this discussion about defense mechanisms, and how when you see the world like you're always being attacked, as somebody with narcissistic personality disorder in particular, but people with personality disorders, anxiety disorders, they feel often like they're constantly being attacked, like they're constantly under threat, and like you have to defend yourself against people. And when you feel like you have to defend yourself against people, you act defensively, and you feel defensive. And when you feel defensive, you sometimes do things like lash out, or you withdraw away from people, and you are thinking about yourself because you're defending. You know, you want to take care of yourself. That's natural. Anytime you're defending yourself, you're being careful to take care of your own life. That makes sense. I'm being so distracted by this light behind me. Okay, and the cars. I'm gonna give that car a chance to pass. All right, so when you are so defensive, you do things that are antagonistic sometimes. Antagonism is just putting yourself against other people. Instead of connecting with people, you go against them. So you do things like withdraw, you do things like lash out. And what you may not realize in your defensiveness is that you're actually being abusive to somebody else. And this is how people with, and I just talk about narcissistic personality disorder because it just happens to be the population that I talk with the most. So don't feel like the things I'm talking about are exclusive to narcissistic personality disorder, because antagonism runs in borderline, it runs in antisocial, and it can run in anybody with any kind of problem. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it's only a narcissistic personality disorder problem. However, when you are defensive, you are naturally going to be slightly antagonistic. You're going to put yourself against other people, and when you are doing that, you could be abusive to them. And it's hard to see because you're focusing on yourself, because you are trying to protect yourself. That's natural. You know, when you're being attacked by a bear, you don't think about the bear and how the bear is feeling. You think about yourself and how you're going to get the hell out of there, or you're going to fight back. So, and that connects to PTSD, and how when you're triggered in PTSD, the fight or flight mechanism comes on, and you're worried about defending yourself. You're not worried about how you're treating the other person. So very often somebody who has these things going on, they could dissociate, they may not, they will defend themselves, and then even looking back on the event, they'll just think, you know, I'm the victim here, I had to defend myself, you were attacking me, without realizing that they may have been triggered by something. The other person may never have been attacking them at all. They may have just been perceiving an attack based on a trigger, like a noise, or a color or a sound or something like a piece of clothing. It could be anything, a feeling. And they could have been reacting to that trigger, feeling attacked, and then in their defense, actually doing something abusive to the other person. And then if they happen to be dissociating, they won't remember it so well, and they could do something like gaslight somebody else, saying that what happened didn't actually happen when it did. And just to tie the borderline personality disorder thing in, because this is something that I did, I'm trying to jam pack as much as I can in here. Lying. For me as a borderline person, when I would lie, sometimes somebody would ask me a question, okay, and I was already like stewing in this soup of intensity of emotional and trying to keep it together, and somebody would ask me a question and I might even be like dissociated and not hear the whole question, so I would give an answer, and then they would like question like, is that what you meant to say, like really? And then I would be confused and I'd be on the spot and I would feel like I needed to save face. I needed to be consistent with my answer. So even if it was the wrong answer, I would say yes. And I can think of a specific time that I did this. I'm sure I've done it more than just that one specific time. And I would continue to defend that answer because I didn't want to seem inconsistent, because then it would look like I was lying, which is hysterical because I actually was lying. But I had to learn over time to fight against that, and to fight against that I had to start saying to people, oh, I didn't hear you correctly, or saying, oh, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. And it might have made me look a little stupid in the moment, which really it didn't, but it might have made me feel like I was stupid in the moment. But that impulsiveness, that borderline impulsiveness to kind of like keep things consistently, and that's how it manifested in me anyway. That's how I wound up lying to people. So I'm trying to wrap up as many of these behaviors into this video as I can, so you could see the picture of what it might be like for the perspective of somebody who is abusive, because people get very confused about like, why does this person who abused me think that I abused them? That makes no sense. And there is sense in it. It's just a perverted sense in the, I'm going to get into this in another video, but perverted in the sense of the word that I'm using is when you take reality and you bend it a little bit. So it does make sense. There is a logic to it. It's just a little twisted, a little bit warped, but it's still grounded in reality, and it's still reacting to real things. It's reacting to triggers, it's reacting to sensations in your body, and it's reacting to the way that your personality is currently organized in your life. So that is that. Hopefully this is going to be an interesting video, because I am all over the place, and I apologize for that. But what do you think about what I've had to say? Are you getting a perspective on what it's like to be the abusive person? Because that's what I'm really trying to get across here in some of these videos. It's what's been on my mind, because I feel like it's so misunderstood and people don't get it. And, you know, I'm not saying that everybody does things the way that I did it, because, you know, I was abusive and this is why I did the things that I did. I know there are people who are just plain malicious and cruel, and, you know, I was malicious and cruel. I don't have enough time to sit here and get into all of that. However, I wanted to give a peek into some of the motivations that go into that. So let me know, has this helped you see that side of things? Do you have questions about like any of this? Would you like to hear more about it? Let me know in the comments. And thank you for listening, honestly, because I have not really spoken about this to that many people. And although the people have listened, it's kind of nice to get it out there. It's nice to just say it, and it's not living in my body anymore. Now other people can hear it, and it's just the truth. And then I live in my truth, and I'm all about living in the truth. Live in yours.